Hello, Assel. Thank you for this batch of essays. Now let's have a look at the one about the Olympics. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether Olympic Games are still important to be held in the modern world. Very nice. Some believe that the concept of Olympics lost value and nowadays incurs only unjustified expenses. Personally, personally, I strongly disagree. Very nice. Okay, great use of vocabulary incurs the unjustified expenses. Awesome. This essay will argue that traditional sporting events do not only bear cultural value, but also an economical advantage. Not you probably mean economic because economical means time saving or effort saving, while economic means related to the economy of a country, right? So I believe you refer to the economy. Um, if you generalize and say traditional sporting events, you depart slightly from the concept of the Olympics. So, that's slightly different. So, on the one hand, there's ample evidence that nowadays some developing countries better to focus on the well-being of the nation rather than, okay, had better focus on the well-being of their nation rather than host grand events. Okay. The central reason behind this is that a significant amount of government budget is invested to build Olympic villages and venues, which will be abandoned after the event. Okay. Don't need this comma here because you refer namely to the venues and villages that will inevitably be abandoned. Therefore, the population considers these spendings. I don't think that's spending, right? You see, spending is uncountable. So perhaps you could say this spending to be unnecessary, as they would rather prefer their tax money to be spent on matters that will enhance their quality of life. Great, absolutely. For example, empirical research at Oxford University demonstrated that during the Olympics in Sochi, how about saying during the Sochi Olympics? It's more economical, speaking of economical, right? So this is the concept of economical. It saves you some space. 40% of all population in Russia lived under the poverty line and were abused by the government, which spent a significant, which I would add, because from your tone, I can guess that you are not very happy with this. Nevertheless, spent a significant amount of budget without the consent from its people. It's like the government's people, right? I mean, the people they govern. Therefore, it is conclusively clear why some people believe the Olympics to be costly and overrated in the 21st century. Okay, yes, this is a great argument supported by a very appropriate example. Just mind the minor corrections that I had to make. On the other hand, the impact of hosting the Olympics on economic growth. Okay, there's a confusion. It looks like you mean hosting on what? On economic growth. The impact on economic growth, the impact of hosting the Olympics exerted on economic growth during the event cannot be overstated. This is largely because games-related projects generate thousands of new employment opportunities. For instance, an extensive study by Harvard University showed that Brazil's GDP had an increase of 4.8%, largely due to the growth, or you can say which was largely due to the growth of tourism during the event, and which surprisingly, you see sometimes a couple of linking words like nevertheless or intensifiers like surprisingly can add half a point to your vocabulary range or grammar range. Do not weaken after. Thus, it is possible to state that the Olympics have a crucial economic role in the 21st century when planned appropriately. Okay. Mm. So the essay will argue that traditions do not only bear cultural value but also an economical advantage. Okay, where's the cultural value? Where is the cultural value? Mm-hmm. I have one question. You said cultural value in the introduction, but you did not develop this. You shouldn't do this if you intend um, to drop it. So you can say that this essay will argue that traditional sporting events such as the Olympics, Olympics, do not only bear I don't know, symbolic value, but also an economic advantage. Because symbolic, you don't have to demonstrate um, symbolic value, symbolic and historical value, but also an economic advantage. Because you have argued for the economic advantage, but your thesis statement looked as if you were planning to argue for the cultural value as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, write me an email if you want to discuss that. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that although some countries suffer from inadequate government budget planning, the role of the Olympic Games is much more significant as hosting countries develop tourism. It is predicted, it could be predicted. Let's try to be more hedging, softer, more tentative, because if we make categorical statements, very good support and very convincing proof will be needed. And if you say it is predicted that the role of sporting events such as the Olympics will only grow in importance, I would ask you what exactly in your essay says that. Okay, just one more little thing. Perhaps you could add your opinion, reiterated. You could do it like this. On the other hand, the impact of hosting the Olympics exerted on economic growth during the events cannot be overstated. This is precisely why I strongly agree with this position, because this happens largely because blah, 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 blah. You really need to make a presence here in this body paragraph, because otherwise your opinion is slightly heard here at the end in the conclusion, but that is it, and that is a bit insufficient. Anyway, that is a very nice essay, I have to say. Now let's have a look at the apology letter. Dear Sir, Madam, capitalization is very important. Okay, how did we close it? Best regards. No, if you start with Dear Sir, Madam, you really have to use yours faithfully. Assel, and what's your last name? Mukhanova. And there should be no full stop after your name, because this is not a sentence, and we put full stops only at the end of sentences. Okay? I am writing to you with reference to the letter I received demanded an explanation for my absence on the exam. I would say my exam absence, okay? Because if you say my absence in the exam, you would really have to say which exam, right? I sincerely apologize for missing the exam. Okay, I sincerely apologize for not having been able to be present at the examination beg your pardon, on the 9th of May 2019 for the international marketing module. Very nice, you have the code. This is my last examination in my final year at Albany University. This is why I am disappointed for failing. I'm not disappointed. No. If you say disappointed, no. I regret failing to provide evidence for my absence. Hopefully you would accept you will accept available evidence and will approve my resitting, double T, this examination or test. Please remember, do not use the short form, use the long form all the time, okay? Examination and, okay, let's do it like this. Let's just remove it from my absence. And I'm going to write this one for you, for not having been able to be present in the exam that was held on. As you can see, the words that I provide are more formal and more academic. You really need to preserve the style. My name is so and so, student number. I am studying in the BA program, business and management, my major, third year. Beg your pardon. I can simply remove this. Okay. On the morning of the exam, my blood pressure increased significantly. You can say increased suddenly and significantly. This medical condition never bothered me in the past, therefore I had no medicine to help myself. I considered making an appointment with my family doctor, but the only available appointment was at the same time as my exam. As a result, I had to visit my doctor to resolve the problem, and I obtained a medical note proving my illness on that day. Okay, I submitted evidence to my tutor via email that day. On the very same day, but the email was not delivered. I failed to notice yet this failure appeared to me. What do you mean appeared to me? Only became only became evident after I received a letter from you. I attached screenshots of the date I sent my evidence, my proof of absence. So hopefully my explanation would be accepted, and I will be permitted for a recit exam, for exam recit. Depends. By the way, it works both ways. Anyway, very good explanation. It only looks a bit long to me. 256 words, that's a bit longish. Okay, perhaps you could reduce this part and it's going to be much better, I guess. So anyway, great approach, great detail, very nice task achievement. Most of the time you have good coherence and cohesion. Just sometimes you need to add certain words to make sure that the flow is preserved, because sometimes I have a feeling that your sentence structure needs a bit of help. Anyway, but your main issue is choosing the right vocabulary, a bit of word order as well. Just, but anyway, you do have a very promising manner of writing formal letters. Just don't forget the conventions. And again, if you have any additional questions about formal writing, feel free to write to me, and I will provide further guidance and explanation. Okay, this is it. All the best of luck. I'm looking forward for your next essays.